Perfect. All right. So, hi everyone. My name's Evan. I used to be board on tide, but now I'm a senior and pass it on to people. But I am proud to be giving this workshop the second time. First one was last year when it was in person. We would have everyone come to a room, right? We do this for like 2 hours. You'd leave with the website. But that's not going to quite be the format of today because I have 1 hour and it's hard to walk around and give people, aid and tips and tricks and kind of help with literal instruction in the website building part of the workshop. So what we're going to be doing today is instead I'm going to give you a quick presentation, some background on how some things work, and then explain the best way that I think, and the cheapest way, free or cheapest way, that I think people can come up with a really beautiful personal website pretty quickly. And I'm going to give you all resources that we made that can help you. So even once this, once this hour is done and once you log off, you are able to follow these step-by-step instructions to do certain things like connecting your domain and other things that we kind of have planned out for. So hopefully you can go home after this. I mean, you are home, but go home and build this website yourself. But I'm going to give you some background. I'm going to show you what tools I recommend using after a lot of research on the best way to do this, the cheapest way to do this, et cetera, et cetera. So thanks for coming, and we're going to go ahead and get started. This will come in a little more later, but we do have a live website for this workshop, thaiworkshop.live, which looks a lot like this. And coming to this website, thaiworkshop.live, later will be important as we have some of our resources I'm going to talk about are actually on this website. So it should be on the bottom of every slide. You should just be able to navigate to thaiworkshop.live. Again, it's not really important during this presentation, but make sure you have it bookmarked and stuff. So once we're done here, you are able to go and use that when you're actually building your website based on what we talked about today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Yeah, okay, so I just talked about our website. All right, so the goal of this workshop is to tell you and give everyone here the tools that they need to build a really good professional front-facing, public-facing website, because you really want to be able to sell yourself, your personal brand, and you want to be able to showcase maybe your portfolio or your projects or whatever it is that you do, no matter what discipline you come from. You should have some kind of online presence, because that's just something that I think is important that everyone claims. Your online presence is going to be something that is yours uniquely on the internet, and it's a unique identifier for people to find you. So you might have a LinkedIn, but what looks even better than the LinkedIn is having your own website. And that'll impress potential employers. If you work for yourself, right? If you're self-employed, if you're a freelancer, you're going to be able to use this website to market your products, everything like that. And a big emphasis of this workshop is avoiding, we want to do this cheaply, but also we don't want to have like a domain that says like, so my name's Evan Hoffman. So the domain name would be like Wix site something / Evan Hoffman. That's good and it's free, but it also is a lot less professional. And it looks really cool to have a website name like, I don't know, for me, evanhoffman.com or evanhoffman.me, something like that. And that can be expensive, especially if you use something like Wix. They're going to charge you like $5 a month, and that adds up. And that's way above the range that we're talking here. We want to do maybe $5 a year. So on the other hand, I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but we want to also build a really good looking website. And that means that we're not going to be coding it. And I'll kind of talk about what that means later, but no code is going to be involved in this workshop. So we're going to have to find some kind of middle ground here. All right, so to go ahead and start, first we want to understand kind of how the internet works, especially in relation to having your piece of the internet or your website. So the internet is really a collection of devices and servers, right? The devices are the MacBooks here, and the servers are the kind of stacks. So personal devices and servers. That's all the internet is. And you're probably familiar with personal devices, right? These can be your laptops. Sorry. Oh, yeah, and I'll get to the questions in a bit, but that's a good question. We'll get to that in a sec. So you have like a laptop, right? It's a personal device. You also have a phone, personal device. These days, you have your, if you have a smart home, that counts as a personal device, and there's smart fridges apparently too, and that would also count as a personal device. The other aspect of the internet are these things called servers. And this is really what they look like. They're just huge. They're in data centers, they're in data centers maybe in the desert in Arizona or the desert in California. And most of everything on the internet lives on a server like this. Clark, actually, we have our own servers. That's pretty cool. But basically, what you have to get from this is you have your personal devices and you have your servers. And how this really works is the websites that you call. So when you type in google.com, you type that on your personal device. But really what that's doing is it's getting google.com from a server. So google.com itself is stored on a server somewhere. Your computer doesn't actually have google.com. Your computer needs to go and find the code for google.com and then bring it to your computer so you can use google.com. So that's where servers come in. That's why servers are important. Everything you see on the internet lives on a server somewhere. It doesn't live on your computer. So that brings us to domains and IP addresses. So domains you're probably familiar with. Google.com is the domain name for Google. Clarku.edu, again, a domain name. And so working with domain names like this, this is how humans, right, how we can find something that we know. Google.com, well, that means it's Google's website, right? But if you think about this, if something I want to think about is putting the internet in terms of like your address, right? And if you think about an address, like street address, you have your city, your block, your zip code, and then your like name, like 5 Maywood or something like that. So you have these varying levels of specificity, and based off of that information, the zip code, the city, you get to narrow in on where you actually live. But a domain name isn't like that. Like saying google.com doesn't tell you where Google is on the internet, but it's the same as saying, well, that's Joe's house. Just go around the corner to Joe's house, right? Joe's house doesn't help you narrow in on where Joe's house is, but that's what we call it because we're familiar with Joe's house. So that's where IP addresses come in. These are these kind of numbers, and these are what you actually see. These are what computers actually use to find websites. So like you can really think of this as an address on the internet. So maybe the 34 represents the zip code, the 76 represents the city. But this is how your computer will find the server that has the code for the website you want. So your computer, if you type in google.com, your computer doesn't know where google.com is. It actually needs google.com's IP address. So that's something we're going to talk about getting in a second. And this isn't going to be really important to building your website, but I just, in order to kind of explain the steps and different products we're going to be using, it's kind of good to have a basic understanding of these concepts. So just as a quick walkthrough, this is what happens when you go to a website. This is our laptop, right, our personal device. We want to type in clarku.edu, right? So instead of going to Clarku's servers, right, and getting the code for Clark's website, we're actually first going to something called a DNS server, which is a public company, right? And DNS server basically has a table, and on the left side, they have the domain names like clarku.edu. And on the right side, they're going to actually have Clarku's IP address stored. So and that's this 142.32 number that we have here. So the DNS server, when we type in clarku.edu, first we go to the DNS server, and then the DNS server gives back our laptop Clark's address on the internet. And again, this IP address is telling us what server, where we can find the server that actually has Clark's website. So now that our personal device has received this actual IP address, our computer now knows where to actually find Clark's website, where to find Clark's servers. And those, fun fact, are in the basement of Carlson Hall, the Graduate School of Management building. In the basement there are Clark's servers. So basically this is telling us this IP address. Now that we have it, our computer will navigate. It'll find 14, then it'll find 232, then 1, then 192. It just keeps getting closer and closer until it finds the server. It tells, hey, Clark server, I need Clark's website over here. And then Clark server will send us back the home page, what we're very familiar with. So it's kind of a convoluted process, but if you think about it, it is very logical, right? Typing in a name in English like Clarkie, that's not going to help your laptop find the actual location on the internet where Clark's website is. So that's why you need this thing called an IP address. And again, those are stored by a private company, a DNS server. So kind of moving on from that, what do we need to build our own personal website, right? What are the aspects that we need? And this is we're going to start talking about products like Wix and maybe GoDaddy for DNS, or maybe just like Wix, we have like WordPress, that kind of stuff. So we have all these products, but what are we going to use? What's best suited for what we want to do? Like, what's the perfect way to do this that minimizes cost and makes it look as professional as possible with our own domain name, all those things I talked about. So first, we need the website itself, right? And there's a few ways to do this. This is what you see when you go to clarkie.edu. It's the actual body of the website. It's what's stored on a server somewhere. So the first way we can do this is with code, right? Coding it, you have languages like HTML, you have CSS, you have JavaScript. That makes up the tech stack. That's what a lot of the internet is actually written off of, right? Is these coding languages. However, unfortunately, not everyone knows how to code. And these days, if you use a coding language and you're not like the best of the best, your website might look something like this. And that's fine, but it does look, you know, very 2005-ish, and it's very simple, and it's definitely not putting your best foot forward. So unless you're a real pro with these coding languages, you want to use, like you mentioned, we want to use something like Wix, right? We're not going to use Wix, but that's the example I think everyone's very familiar with, is we want to use a template website such as that. And a template will give us really good looking websites. And I have a video here. Yeah, basically this is a beautiful website, right? Someone's personal website. You have all these features, you have all these different panes, these panels. And this is the kind of website that we want to have, right? We want to have something that looks like this, because it's going to be looking like your most professional self, right? Rather than maybe just the bare bones coded version I just mentioned. So we do want to use a template of some kind, and we're going to keep this in mind in a sec. So the second thing we need is to host our website somewhere, right? It needs to have a server somewhere that will hold the code to our website such that when someone types in our website name, they're going to actually get the website that we made using the templates that we just briefly mentioned. So where does our website live? So this is something you might not think about, this aspect, when you use a service like Wix, but in addition to building like a template for you and actually dragging and dropping that kind of style of website building, Wix will also host your code on their servers, right? And the trick is they'll do this for free if your website has a name like Wix site /Evan Hoffman, or Weebly /Evan Hoffman, or WordPress /Evan Hoffman. If you use their domain names, they're going to give you this functionality for free. And that's very generous of them. I see some mentions of Bootstrap. Yeah, okay. So Bootstrap, exactly. The coders in the audience, or those who have some technical experience, and myself, we understand that Bootstrap is a tool that will make you have a very good looking website through code effectively. It's effectively coding. It's just a little higher level than that. But we're not going to be using that for this because this workshop was meant really for people in all disciplines all across. And so we will be using a template, but it's a little more nuanced than just using Wix or something like that, because as we're going to go into, if you want to have your own domain, and also, for the coders here, I do recommend as a project in and of itself to kind of sell yourself professionally, you should probably use Bootstrap to make a website for yourself, just because eventually, I'm not saying today, you want to have something out today and that's where this is going to help. But if you're a coder, it does look good to have coded your own website. But for most people's purposes, it's not really that you coded your own website that's impressive. It's a good looking website that can showcase your art portfolio, the services you provide, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, I like that bootstrap. And I think we're going to do a workshop on that at some point for the coders here, because that's very important. But yeah, getting back to what we're going to use here, something you don't really think about with Wix, right, is yeah, they'll help you build your website and they'll also host it for you. And again, this is where we talk about domain names, right? I want everyone here to have a domain name of their own that's not like a Wix site thing. So it's not like Evan Hoffman / Wix site or something like that. It's just evanhoffman.com or evanhoffman.me. So going back to is Wix site professional, a Wix site looks really good, but if you could have a Wix site, right, without having the actual Wix name in the domain, so people don't really associate it with a Wix site, that is professional, right? It's just a little less professional if you have the Wix site in the link name, right? Now, Wix will let you do this, but you have to pay them like $5, $6 a month. And we're going to talk about pricing on different services in a minute. But yes, that's the kind of catch here. So all of these services, right, they have some kind of tier level of paying and premiums. And then basically, if you want to get your own link, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep the free link that they give you, except for a few of these cases. And that's where the kind of nuance of this whole workshop is going to come in. All right, so the third thing we need, as I've talked about, is a domain, right, a domain name. So the first thing you want to do is you want to pick a name. So you have these examples here, oliviathompson.com or benstanton.me. So that's what you want your domain name to look like. And then you need to register your domain somewhere. Register it so that those DNS servers that we talked about earlier can make the connection between when someone types in your website, it's going to go to the DNS server first. And the DNS server is going to say, okay, oliviathompson.com, we have their IP address on file. We're going to send that back to the user who's looking it up, so then the user's laptop can actually get you, oliviathompson.com. So these are the two steps of getting a domain. You have to register it, and that's where these sites, which also probably look familiar to people, come in. You have like GoDaddy.com, Namecheap, Free Domain, Domain.com, Google Domains. So these are the domain providers. And effectively, we're going to try to come up with some kind of combination of all these services, right? A website builder, hosting place, and also the domain provider. That's going to get us the cheapest or free, it depends how you do it, really good looking professional website with your own domain. So again, not a Wix site domain or not a GoDaddy or not a Weebly domain, but like actually your name and a .com or a .me. So this is where I'm going to break out some comparisons here. If we want to find the best way of doing this, we have to kind of take into account each aspect I talked about. So how are we going to build our website? Again, apart from coding it or using Bootstrap, we want to use the best way to make it look good, right, is going to be, for now, using a template. And a template we do get from websites like Weebly or WordPress or Wix or Ucraft or Google Sites. They're going to have a pretty template ready that we can use and have this up and running in like, say, an hour, right, of your own time. And they'll do that all for free, right? That's not the hard part. They're going to let you make and design your own website. They're going to omit certain features, like they may not let you have like a credit card taking in or a payment system built in, because they're going to charge you premium for that. But I don't think most of us are setting up an online shop for this workshop. I think we're all trying to basically have a website that showcases us and our services and our skills. Or for me, I'm a coder, it'll showcase my projects, right? But so we don't really need those premium features. And excluding those premium features, these services here, they will give us the website, the pretty looking website, for free. So that's good. However, hosting, they will also, as I talked about, host your website. But they will only give you your own domain if you upgrade to a premium, right? So when you build your Wix or your Weebly website, they're going to say, oh, looks good. They're going to put it on the internet, but again, it's going to be Evan Hoffman /Wix site /.com, or it's going to be Olivia Thompson, or it's going to be like Weebly /Olivia Thompson page /.com. If you want to get your own domain from these providers and make it evanhoffman.com, right? you are going to need to upgrade. You're going to need to pay them like a lot of money per month. I mean, it's not a lot of money per month, but over the year, it's going to cost money, right? And that's something that we want to avoid here because that's expensive. But we still do want to have the templates that they give us, right? But we don't want to pay a premium to connect our own domain. So that's kind of the conundrum here. And something that I spent a lot of time really figuring out how to get around, because it is tough. But there is one of these services, or two of these services will actually let you connect your own domain that you already own for free without having to upgrade. So we're going to go into that in a sec. Yeah, so we're going to eliminate these three because these three don't let you do that. Then we have Ucraft and Google Sites remaining. So Ucraft will make you pay $10 a month to upgrade if you want them to issue you your own domain. But if you already own a domain, right, if you already own the rights to evanhoffman.com, you can connect it for free. It won't be coming from them, but you can connect it for free with Ucraft or Google Sites. And again, this whole process of connecting and stuff, I have step-by-step instructions on the workshop site, which we'll go back to at the end. But it's a little complex, but something that we all can do. So this begs the question, if we don't want to pay these prices for these websites to give us a domain, and we want to use a domain we already own, well then how much does it cost to actually get a domain that we already own, right? And the answer is cheaper than what these hosting websites would charge you, which is per month. So if we take these domain registry websites, right, and we take a sample domain, I made this like a few months ago, so the price might have changed slightly for rogercarson.me, but when I checked rogercarson.me, the prices on all these services were as follows. Free domain will give it to you for free, but it's not going to be .me. They only give you free domains for like extensions. Instead, it would be rogercarson.xz or .xyz. And that's a free domain name, and it doesn't look very professional either. Like, I don't know, I don't want my website to be called evanhoffman.xz or something like that, because that does kind of something like more flashy, like .me or .tech or .ai, something .io, even .com. .com's great for a personal website. I'd have evanhoffman.com, but someone got it a few decades before I did, so that's why I got evanhoffman.me. So free domain, that's the first one. We don't really want that because they only give you really weird domain extensions. So if we go through this list again, right, we have Google domains, they're going to give you it for $20, GoDaddy $3.49, domain.com $2.99, Namecheap $4.88. So those are the prices for the same domain on all these sites. And you can see it varies. So some sites definitely give you it cheaper than others. Now, when getting a domain, we also have to consider something else, and that's domain registry privacy. Effectively, when you buy a domain, you're really buying an address on the internet, right? And this actually has some federal regulations behind it, in that in order to have your website listed on the internet, in case something illicit or illegal happens on your website, the government needs to know who actually owns this website, right? So they can contact you or notify or do something. So whenever you get a domain, you have to register your personal information on a public DNS server, which means they're going to need your email, they're going to need your phone number, and anyone can look this up, right? So this is information that I don't really want to put on the open internet. I don't really want this database, this DNS database, to have my phone number. So anyone who wants my phone number can just look up my website and then find the information with it. So in order to avoid having this information go up publicly, you want to purchase something called domain registry privacy when you buy your domain. And what this will do is it'll mean the service that you buy your domain from, like GoDaddy or domain.com, they will hide, they will submit to the DNS registry their own information, right? So instead of yours, they're going to give contact us if you're like the government and you need this person's information. Like, we're not going to actually put it publicly on the DNS server. That's very important. And this is a service that is provided for usually an extra fee, right? Google domains won't charge you anymore for that. Neither will Namecheap. But the GoDaddy cost goes from $3.49, by the way, these are per year, to $9.99 per year. Then domain.com want to go from $3 per year to $13 per year. The only domain websites that'll give you this service for free are Google Domains and Namecheap. So if you really compare, you can see that we want to be using Namecheap here because they're going to give us everything we need for the cheapest amount of money. And again, if we'd done this whole thing, even though it might be a little simpler to do through maybe Wix.com, they're going to charge us 10 times as much. They're going to charge us $5 per month instead of $5 per year. So it's not the simplest because Wix would do it all for you, right? But you would have to pay a lot more money than if you do it this way. And we really, in our tutorial that we break down on the course website, we will have very step-by-step, very easy instructions that you can follow to do this all yourself. So you don't need to pay a fortune to one of those hosting websites. So if you've kind of followed what we've been talking about here, the perfect our tech stack, what we're going to be using to do this for like $5 per year instead of like $5 per month is kind of convoluted, but work with me here. We're going to use Ucraft to build a very beautiful templated website. So this means you don't need to code your website. It can be beautiful. There's a lot of pre-made templates. There's drag and drop, something you're probably familiar with if you've worked with like Wix or Weebly. So we're going to use Ucraft to do that. They also give us free web hosting, right? So that they have the server, right? That's going to hold our website. That's all free. Now, with Ucraft, you can connect, like we talked about, you can connect the domain if you already own the domain for free. So they will give you a starting, like it's going to be evanhoffman.ucraft.com, right? It's not going to be evanhoffman.com, which is what I want. But when we can go and buy our domain on Namecheap, and then we can go back to Ucraft and for free connect it so it says evanhoffman.com instead of evanhoffman.ucraft.com. Last thing is Ucraft also provides us free SSL security, which is basically HTTPS instead of HTTP in front of your link. And the reason we want HTTPS in front of our domain instead of HTTP is A, it's secure, but also when a lot of people go to your website, their browser won't block it and say, well, you might not trust this site, right? Because it's not HTTPS. So we just get rid of that inconvenience for people, right? By having an HTTPS. And again, Ucraft will do that for free for us. So then we want to buy our domain somewhere, right? And as I talked about, we're going to use Namecheap. They have cheap domains. Again, I did the whole price breakdown comparison. They have free DNS privacy in that they hide your information from the public for you. And they have really good domain management tools. So understanding all this, the actual workshop part, which is going to be a little different this year, is effectively what I'd ask people to do now is to actually build their Ucraft website. And the kind of all the information you need to do this is going to be on our this workshop's website. So again, I go the second part is this is going to help you build your website and stuff, and that's great. But again, we want our own domain. We don't want a .ucraft site. And like I said, Ucraft won't actually make you pay, unlike the other services, in order to connect your own domain. So that's where this second tutorial page that we made here, connect your domain, comes in. Once you built a great website and stuff, you want to get your own domain, right? And this is a tutorial using Namecheap, right? Namecheap is the domain registered website that I talked about and kind of did the price compare for earlier. Again, step-by-step instructions for getting a domain on Namecheap, making sure that you have the WhoIsGuard, which is what I talked about earlier, the domain privacy, so that your personal information isn't online for anyone to see, right? So I have step-by-step instructions to getting that there. And of course, the second aspect is connecting the domain that you bought to your Ucraft website, which is free. Again, that's the important part, that's free. So I have step-by-step instructions on how to do that here. I worked hard on these. I put like arrows and circles and really tried to emphasize what was going on in each step. But again, this is a good walkthrough in order to be able to connect your own domain for free that you've bought on Namecheap. So all those instructions are here. And honestly, you can put up a website like I have here, right, in an hour if you follow the instructions that I said. Again, this costs me, beautiful website, it costs me it costs me $3 a year, and that's only paying for the domain because I'm not even paying for the website. And it's not a .ucraft site, it's just my domain, and that's the best part. So again, you don't need to pay for the full Wix premium to do this stuff. Like, there's ways around this, and we found all those ways, and we've compiled all those things on our course website, or on this workshop website. So make sure you go to tyworkshop.live, bookmark it, don't forget it, and at your own pace, you can go through the steps that we laid out and actually build your website on these two connecting pages. So I do hope, you know, if it was in person, we'd sit you down, we'd hold a gun to your head, and we'd say, leave this workshop with the website, right? Like, actually build a website, because I know it's hard to kind of make yourself do something like this. So that's why we kind of try to have people leave with the website, but that's not really feasible for the hour-long session we have here. So I do implore everyone here to, in the next few days, go and get this up and running. Like, get a great website up and running. Follow the instructions we talked about. Use this workshop website that I made. All the instructions are here. All the kind of nuances, all the weird tricks that maybe they'll try to throw at you to get you to pay for stuff, right? All the ways around all that, it's all here. And it's really not hard. Like, if you can follow step-by-step instructions, you'll be good. You can do this in an hour or two, and I hope everyone does. I would usually be around, right, for this whole process in order to help you. Like, if you have any features, how to do something on Ucraft, if you have questions like that, that's not covered in the video tutorials that we put together. You should join the Ty community, because then you can find me. I mean, you can email Ty. We have a Slack community. If you know what Slack is, there's a link on this course, on this workshop website, to join our Slack. Follow our Facebook or Instagram, join our email list, all of these things. But I think the best way to get in contact with me, if you have any questions about building your Ucraft site, is to join our Slack. If you're on our Slack, you can DM me there. You can post in the channel that we have specifically for building your own personal websites or questions, or you can email me. If you don't have Slack and you don't want to get Slack, I will put my email in the chat for everyone to see. This is my Clark email, edhoffman@clarkies.edu. Oh, sorry, that was sent. Send this to everyone. But yeah, I hope that you understand kind of the nuances of what we did in this workshop. It's not like I'm going to tell you to use a service like Wix, or in this case, Ucraft, and build a website out of a template. I'm really trying to explain to you kind of how to do this very cheap, instead of having to use like a Wix or a Ucraft domain and then, you know, upgrade to get your own domain. You don't need to do that, right? And if you use Ucraft, it doesn't make you do that. And that's the whole idea here. And so I hope everyone kind of understands. I'm open to taking questions now if you want to chat or unmute yourself. But otherwise, please join our Slack. Email me or post in the Slack any questions you have. And I hope in the next few days you get the initiative, right? You take the time to really build this yourself. And again, tyworkshop.live, that's the site that you should consult with for every step of your way. All right. Okay, yes. So Ty Workshop, I believe, Madi, you're talking about tyworkshop.live is not secure, right? I hope you're not talking about my personal site.
Both. I'm asking about both. Both of them says like they're not secure.
Okay. So yeah, that's they are secure, but the problem is when you for the very first time, right? If you type into your browser, my site, right, it's going to assume, okay, so the nuance here is that whenever if you just typed into your browser evanhoffman.me, right, like this, my browser knows to go to HTTPS, which Ucraft does provide for free and I talked about. But a lot of browsers won't know to do that, and they'll just go to HTTP because it's the first time. And the thing is usually if it goes to HTTP, most browsers usually default to that, but usually there is no HTTP site, right? So then it sends you, then it checks HTTPS. In my case, I have both an HTTP site and an HTTPS site up and running, which means that it will default you to HTTP if you just type it in, which is why I personally am careful whenever I post and link people on my website. I give them the full link with HTTPS so that their browser knows this is actually an HTTPS site. And when you put the whole link in, right? If I post that to my LinkedIn or I give people a personal website, I send them the full link so that they know, so that their browser doesn't give them that page that says your site is not secure. Because the HTTP site also exists, and that's something on my own time I need to go make sure it gets taken down. Because people who go to who just type in evanhoffman.me for free, for the first time, will be redirected to the non-HTTPS site, if that makes sense. Hopefully none of you will have that issue, because you should be making your domain HTTPS from the start with the instructions I gave you. But that is something that I have to personally configure for myself. And I don't know why any of you would have the issue if you follow the instructions that I said, that I put on the website. But if you did have that issue, you can contact me, or you can just do a quick Google, which is if you're using the Namecheap domain provider I talked about, all you do is you Google, if you don't understand how Namecheap fundamentally works, and you can't, Namecheap will have, for me, they have two domains, right? They have http:/www.evanhoffman.me, and then they also have https:/evanhoffman.me on the Namecheap actual registry. I just have to go in and literally delete the HTTP one, right? So that when people just type in evanhoffman.me, it defaults to HTTPS. Again, that's not a problem anyone here should have if they follow the configuration instructions I set up here. That's something that I did and I actually have to fix for myself. Because as you can see, I am on the HTTPS version, so this one's secure, but his computer did not know to go and do that, right? And that's obviously no one's computer would know how to go and do that. So you don't want to have that be an eventuality at all. So effectively, if it's configured like mine, share people the whole link so they know it's HTTPS. But if it's not like mine, it should be configured right if you follow the connector domain instructions that we put here. And if it's not for some reason, either look up how to remove the HTTP without the S call from your domain registry, or contact me and I'll help you through it. But I don't think that should be a problem for you. But it's a good idea. I should take care of that sooner than later. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. Is there any other questions that people might have? All right, well, let me go back to the first slide just so it's up here. Again, this is the course website. I think, as he said, it will say that it's not secure, and that's unfortunate because I set up that site before I'd really figured out all the nuances of the situation when I made the instructions. So sorry about that. You're going to have to tell your browser to trust the site just this once. But again, Ucraft will give you the HTTPS certificate for free. So it's very crucial that you take advantage of that, so that if people typed in https:/workshop.live, they won't get the insecure notification at all.
Just one quick note. I don't know when the last time you went to Namecheap was, but I'm on it right now, and it seems that they no longer have free hosting of websites.
Oh, sorry, Namecheap doesn't provide the hosting. That's Ucraft. But yes, no, Namecheap would not ever have free hosting of websites. That would be Ucraft.
All right, much appreciated.
Let me go to that here. Yeah. So there's the hosting section here. Yeah, Ucraft. It's Ucraft that provides the hosting for free. Because if you think about it, yeah, Ucraft won't even say they provide hosting for free. That's a more technical thing, right? But they provide the hosting for free. All you get for Namecheap, right, is the URL, is the domain, and the ability to make it so your private information is not on the open internet when you register that domain. So that's what Namecheap is for. But they won't be hosting. Namecheap might also have like a website builder thing attached, but we're ignoring that. We're building our website on Ucraft, and Ucraft will host it. But we're going to want to give it, when you build your Ucraft website for the first time, it's going to give you a Ucraft domain. That's okay, because after you're done building your website, you're going to have your Ucraft domain. Then you go to Namecheap, you buy your own domain, then you go back to Ucraft and you connect your domain to the Ucraft site. And that's what the instructions that are on the TIE website should be able to walk you through. So, but yeah, thanks for that. It's a good clarification. Yeah, and I'll stick on this call till 8, but that's all I really have to say. We're gonna make a better recording of this that we should provide everyone also in case you missed out on anything. But yeah, just be sure, tieworkshop.live. Go to that. That's and bookmark it. All right, yeah, I'm glad everyone came. Please take the initiative to actually do this. Again, I know it's hard. I know you came to this workshop hoping that, hey, you're gonna leave with your website. And if we're doing this in person, that's how it would work. So I'm asking you to take this initiative over the next few days to actually go build your own personal website using the tieworkshop.live site and everything you learned today. So good luck, and I will stick around if anyone wants to keep talking, but thanks for coming. And also a plug for Ty. If you are interested in more technical things, we provide, some workshops for the CS department. We also like to provide, school-wide things for all disciplines, which is what this was, right? So I'm not on eBoard, but if you are on eBoard, I know that Ty is accepting new eBoard planning positions. So if you're interested in getting involved, maybe helping make a workshop, whether it's a technical skill like Bootstrap, or if it's something that maybe the whole school can benefit from, Ty will facilitate that. So get involved. I know they have good plans this semester, but if you have something you really want to do, join Ty. You know where to find us. And again, all that information is on the workshop website. So again, thanks everyone for coming. And good luck. Get these up. Take the initiative. You can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan.